Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am 7Drosel6 and I am the DM for 7th Roll. And today we are going to be continuing the homebrew discussion about the Elemental Master, the class, pretty much. So, last video, which I don't know when I uploaded this, I made it like 5 minutes ago. The last video, we went through pretty much the start of the Elemental Master class. I went through some explanations of some of the features, and we went up until level 5. So now we're going to do the rest of the main class in this video. Again, I haven't seen any feedback on this yet because I'm doing this video right after I did the previous one, but there's probably going to be some time between uploads at this point. So, you know, there is that. However, we are now going to first click on this button to create a new version because I forgot about that. That way I have the 0.5.1 version. And then we are going to change this into 0.5.2 because now we are going to get to the 0.2 version. Also, I just realized that this is kind of fucked for no apparent reason. Oh, because I clicked on, on the realized. Okay, so we are going to go to level 6, Elemental. Actually, I just realized that this is kind of fucked now because I at some point switched this from level 6 to level 5. So I should probably fix this. Where is my table? This has to also have Elemental Control, and this lose. There you go. Nothing's fucked? Okay, cool. So let's go to level 6, Area Control. Now, I'm gonna leave this here. And I'm gonna say this one more time with another ability. I am not happy with this ability. I'm going to be very honest. I think it's too situational. I think either it's too situational or it can get abused. I'm not a fan of this ability. I kind of had, honestly, the reason this is in there is because I kind of liked the idea of being able to make these stone blocks to, like, you know, block off doors and corridors and whatnot. I don't like this ability. I've gotten the feedback from the player who played Retnak that he actually multiclassed at after level 5 to Cleric because he didn't like the level 6 ability. And honestly, you know, I got some other feedback on it, on some things that weren't all right with it, and I just don't like this ability. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to leave it in here right now because I've been thinking about it for the past week or 2 weeks even, and I don't know what to replace it with. Yet. But pretty much I don't like it. I don't like this ability. Pretty much the point of this ability is you spend 1 affinity points, choose one of the 4, fire, water, earth, air, and then apart from the earth version, there's a small area that remains there for 10 minutes. And, you know, you can, for example, make a small feat of fire, like, you know, kind of like a campfire almost. And if you throw someone in there, they must make a dex save. And otherwise, they take 2d8 points of damage. It's not that it's bad. It's just, first of all, at this point in time, you just throw an elemental blast at their face, and they also take the 2d8. Water, okay. Any melee attack gets disadvantaged. Wow, make an air quick protection, you have the same effect. You know, I don't like this feature. I honestly thought it was a cool design at the beginning. Not a fan of it. I just don't know what to replace it with yet. So if anyone has a good idea, there's a very good chance that the 0.5.x+1 version is going to have that change in there because I currently just don't like it. But for now, I don't know what to change it through or what to exchange it with. Tools of the trade. When you reach level 9, you see the usage of the elements in even the most mundane things. Whenever you make an ability check before rolling, choose to spend 2 affinity points to get advantage on the check. If you are able to add your proficiency bonus to this check, you can choose to only spend 1 affinity point. a little bit of making the class a sort of skill monkey, I will admit. The reason for this is I didn't want this to be a full combat class. Actually, I might even put this to level 6. I just thought of that. Just put tools of the trade at level 6 and put area control at level 9. Because then is it the same as Artificer? Actually, I have the Eberron in Tasha's book here. I'm actually quickly going to look in Tasha's book. Because I think Artificer gets Flash of Genius around that level, right? I actually just thought of that. That might not be a bad idea. I know that this is not the most interesting thing seeing me go through a book, but hey, I try to talk in the meantime. Yeah, Flash of Genius is level 7, and level 6 is Tool Expertise. You know what? I'm going to start by doing that. I'm actually going to start with that. I'm going to start by putting Tools of the Trade in front of area control. And I'm going to make Tools of the Trade level 6 and area control level 9 at the moment. I like this more because this makes Tool of the Trade kind of this fun little ability that you can get at level 6 to give you advantage on skill checks. You know, it gives you a little bit of a skill thing apart from Elemental Way. So I like this. Actually, for people thinking about this, by the way, yes, this is live. This is not me faking it. I'm not that good of an actor. I just literally just considered that, and I was like, hey, yeah, making Tools of the Trade a level 6 ability and area control a level 9 ability might actually work out better. So let's do that. I like this. I'm still going to replace area control by something else, but I actually like having this at level 6 at the moment. So yeah, we're going to do that. So there's that. Then level 10, when you reach level 10, you start using the element to protect your mind from specific ailments. You are able to spend 2 affinity points to remove one of the following status effects if they were to affect you. You can pretty much get rid of restrained, paralyzed, frightened, or grappled. Now each of them has a tie to an element, which actually got me to think when I was going through this class once, maybe there's a fun little thing I can do with this. Because now what I can do, if I click on the correct things, is if you have the corresponding elemental affinity from the elemental control feature, you only have to spend 1 affinity. So then you just take restrained, which is air, paralyzed, which is earth, frightened, which is water because of tranquility, kind of being able to relax, and then grappled because you're on fucking fire. Does this fuck up my... Yes, it kind of does. And I barely have any space here. This is going to be annoying. To be fair, I want to remove this as well anyway, so it's not that bad, but yeah. Anyway, I'm just going to continue. I'll fix the layout of it in a minute, once we're done with the video. Then Tongues of Worlds. When you reach level 13, you have studied up on languages spoken by elemental beings. You can speak the languages Terran, Aquan, Ignan, Auran, and Primordial. Why is this so late in the class? The reason for that is relatively simple. This feels like something that wouldn't really be a thing until this level. I mean, sure, you can fight against fire elementals and all that stuff at lower levels. This just, honestly, this is like something that doesn't feel like it belongs at lower levels for me. But I did want this to be an ability, and I figured, you know, at this point, you're like 100%ing, you know, Elemental Master if you reach level 13, so have some fun with it. I might change this. I don't think so. Not immediately. It's not priority, but I like it, personally. Then, Dimensional Soul. When you reach level 14, you have learned how to protect yourself against the dangers of the world. Every element gives you a new kind of protection. Pretty much every single one of these 4 gives you proficiency in a saving throw. Now, what I'm gonna do, because I kind of do like the little lore thingy here, is honestly, I'm just gonna say you get proficiency in all saving throws. Originally, I was legitimately thinking if you have different saving throws, you're fucked, but then it's like, so you're gonna punish multiclassing? It's like, I don't know. Let's not do that, you know. Let's not screw over people that want to multi-class with this. Like, honestly, like, you know, you get proficiency in all saving throws, but, you know, this is flair, honestly. This was more flair than anything else. I'm actually gonna, like, should I just remove it? Yeah, I should. I really should. I'm gonna like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna remove it. If there's people that want me to leave it there, go for it. It just doesn't, you know, it doesn't fit anymore, technically. If you just give proficiency in all saving throws. This is, by the way, yes, this is ripped from Monk. The worst version of Monk. Because Monk can spend a key point to get advantage, but the thing is, you already can with quick protection, so I didn't want to, you know, give you 2 ways to do that and make quick protection fucking useless. So this I am going to remove, but I am going to put this in my discard folder, so to speak. So yeah. Actually, speaking of discard folder, I actually forgot to mention this in the previous video. There are currently 4 subclasses for this class. Originally there were 5. If you see an older version, you're also going to see Elemental Way of the Puppet Master. I didn't like Puppet Master. It was based on it was literally a ripoff of like the Beastmaster of the Revised Ranger from Unearthed Arcana. It's not, I love the Revised Ranger, but I felt like mine was just too much of a ripoff, and it kind of makes sense, but I want to completely rewrite that subclass at some point, and I just didn't like it at the time. So yeah, and this also fixes my issues. 15. This is the second feature that I'm also probably going to cut in a later version. Primordial Transformation. Once you reach level 15, you have learned so much about the elementals that you can mimic the creatures themselves. After you finish the long rest, choose either fire, water, earth, wind elemental. Until you finish another long rest, you can transform into that elemental. This is pretty much the druidic, the moon druid elemental shape change, right? Or beast shape, or whatever it's called. The thing is, there was one big difference between that version and this one, which was this one, you were able to keep changing in and out, but the hit points of your elemental remained. And you were, I don't remember if I added that you were able to like, oh right, during a short rest you could heal your elemental form with affinity points. I'm not a fan of this ability because it's pretty much just you get a second layer of hit points. And that's all it is. And I don't like it, personally. I like it more than I do area control. This one is less of a priority to cut. Like, I think if there were like, if there was like a top 3 of abilities to cut, area control would be 1, Primordial Transformation would be 2, and Tongue of Worlds would be 3. But this feels too much like you just get an extra like layer of hit points. To be fair, at that level, I don't know how helpful changing into an elemental still is, because something can probably one-shot your elemental at that point. And you don't get to cast like Elemental Blast anymore. You just have to punch things. So there is a use and there is a weakness to it, but I don't know. I'm on the fence, and I think I'm gonna cut this at this point. But again, at this point, I'm gonna leave it here because I don't really have inspiration for what I would like to change it into. But pretty much other than that, you change into the elemental that you chose at the end of your long rests. Your game statistics are changed by the statistics of the elemental, except for your alignment, personality, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma scores. When you transform, you assume the elemental's hit points. When you revert to your normal form, you return to the number of hit points you had before. However, if you revert as a result of dropping to 0 hit points, any access damage carries over. Right? Exactly the same as with Druid. Can't cast spells. Ability to speak or take actions that require hands is limited to the capabilities of your... I don't know why it says beast form. This should be elemental form. Elemental form. Transforming doesn't break your concentration on a spell you've already cast. Stuff like that. Really, the basic... your equipment merges into your new form, right? Very similar. You can use a bonus action to transform back. In theory, you can transform into your elemental form an infinite number of times. However, your elemental hit points remain the same between different transformations. So if you revert to your original form while the elemental had 6 hit points, you transform back into the elemental at 7 hit points. During a short rest, your elemental form does not use hit dice to heal, but you spend affinity points instead. And when you start a short or long rest, you cannot rest in your elemental form. Kind of. So as I said, very much the Druid beast shape, but instead of having 2 beast shapes and having to switch out after a while, you keep switching in and out, but the hit points of the elemental remain. And you can heal it during a short rest. Also, I don't know if I have to specify that on a long rest, the hit points of the elemental come back. Might be something that I should do at some point. Oh, yeah, it does say that here. When you finish the long rest, you can choose what type of elemental you can transform into, as mentioned in the beginning, and your elemental form's current hit points are reset to their maximum. Also, I realized that, again, I'm fucking up my, current hit points are reset to their maximum. Actually, I think, can I do that now? Is that a thing that I do? Yes, still lines up nicely. Then, the next ability's on here. Okay, level 18. So, 16 is an ability score improvement, 17 is a path feature, and 11 as well, by the way. Actually, can I? Because this looks really ugly. Do column break here and not have it be fucked up. Yes, perfect. Alright, planar travel. So when you reach level 18, your connection to the elements is transcended into a connection of the to the elemental planes. You're able to cast Plane Shift at the cost of 4 affinity points. However, you can only cast it once until you have to take a long rest, and you can only travel to the elemental plane. Honestly, I just like this. It's like the ultimate thing of I can now shift to the elemental planes at will. So yeah. Maybe just a fun little thing. Ultimate Blast. This power is a little bit nuts, a little bit hard to explain. The reason that it's in here is because there are so many classes that have a shitty level 20. Yes, I'm looking at Sorcerer. Yes, I'm looking at Monk. I refuse to let my level 20 be, if you roll initiative and you don't have affinity points, gain 4 affinity points. No. I refuse to do that. I am not putting that ability into my class because it's trash, and at level 20 you should get something fun and interesting. Now, I don't know if this is fun and interesting for people, but it's a hell of a lot better than you get 4 bloody points. Who came up with that idea? And before I get like Chris Perkins to like send me a message, that was my idea. It's like, oh shit, sorry, Chris. Love you. Anyway, Ultimate Blasts. When you reach level 20, you learn how to control the Ultimate Elemental Blast. However, it is still quite taxing on you. You now deal force damage whenever you cast the Elemental Blast cantrip, so you have an additional damage option. I think force is resisted by as good as nothing? I think? I don't know. Probably. There's probably something. And there's definitely homebrew creatures that resist it. But if you do, a burst of the 4 basic elements leaves your hands to attack the target. So pretty much, at this point, you have learned not only to tap into the 4 elements, you have learned how to control them so well that you can chuck them into this one blast to just chuck at someone. Another way to see this is you can actually tap into the elemental chaos. You're doing a sort of chaos blast. Actually, I'd like that term maybe a little more. Maybe I just rename it to chaos blast. Anyway, so that means because you're throwing a blast with all 4 of the basic elemental affinities, you can use all 4 of the effects of the elemental control feature, which means you can deal additional fire damage equal to your wisdom modifier, give a target temporary hit points, give a target +1 AC, and give and push a target away 5 feet. You don't have to do all 4 of these. You can. Also, if you want to burst the elemental blasts, every affinity point you spend will also activate all 4 of the burst abilities, which means, let's say, at this point you can spend 5 affinity points on a burst. Let's say that you throw out this elemental this ultimate blast. You spend 5 affinity points. That means you deal 4d8 force damage, because at this point your elemental blast deals 4d8 points of damage. You can deal 5d8 points of fire damage, because you deal 5d8 plus your wisdom modifier points of fire damage from 5 affinity points and the normal elemental control. You give a target, I think, 6 times your wisdom additional temporary hit points. You give 6 creatures, up to 6 creatures, +1 AC, and you can bounce your target 30 feet. But you can only use this feature a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier. Minimum of 1 until you must make a long rest to use it again. I do want to limit it. I don't want you to just be chucking this out like continuously. You know, that might be slightly broken. So this is kind of like an ultimate attack where you can like combine all of the strength of the elemental blast and just start chucking it at people. That's kind of the point of this ability. So, that is the main final part of the class. I just realized that this video is shorter than the previous one. So, one thing that I'm going to go over, which is at the end of the class. It does have a spell list, but that's not important for now because there's technically no spells to pick. That's for a subclass. I'm actually going to go over this multiclassing. If you wish to multiclass into an elemental master, you just need a wisdom of 13. So I've already mentioned this at some point, I think, yeah, in my previous video. If you multiclass into elemental master, you gain proficiency with simple melee weapons, light armor, medium armor, shields. If you multiclass from monk into elemental master or vice versa, you can combine your key points and elemental affinity points. As I said, you know, I'm going to take that out. I'm sorry to everybody who wants to play a multi-class of this. I don't like it. Again, for people who've asked the question maybe in the previous video or people who are asking it to me now, I don't like calling my affinity points key points. And because of that, I don't want them to be treated as key points. And because of that, I think I'm just going to drop this and just make it this. I'm sorry to people who are like, oh, you know, multi-class, get additional key points, even though I'm not a monk. I'm sorry, I don't like it. And this class has to feel good for me too, because it's still my design. If there are other people that want to play this, that's great. I would be really happy about this, but I still want this to be my design. And if there's like 90% of people who are like, hey, you know, this might be a reason why you should turn it into key points, and I get like a really nice explanation apart from mechanical use, then maybe I'll change it back. I can always be convinced of these kinds of things. But at this point, it just doesn't feel right to me. And so I'm just going to change multi-class into this. So you need 13 wisdom. I don't want to make it harder than that. And if you multi-class into it, you get proficiency with simple melee weapon, simple weapons. I should change that. Simple weapons. Light armor, medium armor, and shields. I've been talking a lot, so I need a glass of water. So yeah. So that's the second part of the main Elemental Master class. I hope you did enjoy it. Next time, we're going to start diving into the 4 subclasses. Maybe a 5th one. Actually, no, not for this. Later down the line, I do have ideas for a 5th one. I am going to look into fixing up the Puppet Master, so that will be 6. But at this point, during the time that I'm recording right now, I only have plans for 4. So yeah, that's the current plan. But I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, and if you want to see the rest of the series, you can click the subscribe button down below. Then you'll immediately know when I upload more of this shit. In addition to that, as I said, this version is going to have a link down below so you can kind of see what I changed. But in addition to that, I'm also going to put the final document, or the link to the final version, which is probably also going to have the changes to the 4 subclasses in it, is also going to be in the description below. So you can already have a look at that and already start playing around with it. You don't have to wait for the series for my explanation to have a look. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, this has been 7 Draws to 6. Until next time.